Folks, we are back for UFC 307. This is one of two UFC pay-per-view events this month for October. For UFC 307, we got a couple of title fights at the top of the card. Real quick, though, I did an interview with Joey Hart. If you haven't seen that already, I'm going to link it at the end of this video. So it's going to be on the end screen. Don't go now. Watch this video first. But make sure you check that out. It's a really fun interview. You guys are going to like it. If you remember, Joey Hart was on the Contender Series this year. I actually picked against him. However, he saw my analysis, saw my breakdown, came into the comments and said that it was extremely accurate. So there's that. Even though I picked against him, he said it was extremely accurate, and he was impressed with the flattery that I put his way, even though I did end up picking the other guy. So if you would check that out, I think you guys are going to enjoy it. It's a fun little interview. Joey's a likable guy. He's a very fun interview. So it's going to be at the end of this one, so check that out. In addition to that, all of my links are in the description of this video. I actually threw back on my 138 MMA shirt. I haven't worn it in a while. It fell to the bottom of my shirt box. But, you can get one yourself. It's in the link in the description, as well as everything else, including the Patreon and World of Mixed Martial Arts and all that fun stuff. Check all those things out, and I'll see you in the first fight. Find ourselves at lightweight. We have Austin Hubbard taking on Alexander Hernandez. Couple of guys with very similar initials, but not very similar 5 on ends. We've got 1-4 in the last 5 for Hernandez. He has not looked as good lately as his initial hype had alluded to. For Hubbard, 3-2. This is his second stint in the UFC. Doing okay, right? I mean, he's not winning everything, but he's won since he's been back, and that is more than you can say for a lot of guys. So for Austin Hubbard, that's impressive. That's a good thing. 3-2 in the last 5 for Hubbard, 1-4 for Hernandez. Now, this could change depending on how you look at his last 5, because if you count the fights on the Ultimate Fighter, it's not exactly the same. But whatever. Do it that what you will. We're just going off the non-exhibition fights, if that makes sense. So anyway, let's go ahead and break this down. Now, we have Austin Hubbard. He's a decent striker. I like his shots down the middle, his front kicks and his straight punches. Those are the things I like about him. He can counter strike pretty well. And a lot of times it's kind of just a pull out of the way and counter. It's not super, high level in the counter striking, but it's good and he gets it done. And he's durable, so even if he doesn't get all the way out of the way, he can usually take a shot or two and then fire back. Wrestling. This is where he usually is able to get things done over guys that if he can secure the takedown, he's going to grind you out. He's got smothering top pressure and pretty good takedowns. But the problem is he will leave his neck exposed when he shoots those takedowns. That is one thing I don't really like for Hubbard, especially against Hernandez, who, has a decent submission arsenal. We don't get to see it as often as you would want to, but there's a lot that Alexander Hernandez just kind of leaves on the table. It's kind of unfortunate for his career. Cardio is definitely on the side of Hubbard. I think he's going to be able to have the better cardio in this matchup. We're going to allude to that more in just a moment. But for Hernandez, let's look at his side. Dude's got decent striking. He's got excellent footwork. His footwork is very, very smooth, very fluid. He's got good forward pressure, and he's got plenty of power in the hands. He's really struggled as of late to trust his hands, and it shows in his I want to say it was his last matchup, where he started to really pick things up and shoots for a takedown, and then it's just, what are you doing, man? You almost had him. So, but with that said, he's got good grappling, decent takedowns. The top pressure is very good. But the biggest issue for Hernandez is he's just been inconsistent. We don't know what you're going to get from him fight to fight. Even within the same fight, you don't know what you're going to get from the guy. So inconsistent. His cardio's, and that's the big thing. Because if you don't know, we are at elevation here in Salt Lake City. And because of that, even though I think that these two on paper are pretty close, and I think that maybe Hernandez might have more skills when you look at it that way, I think the fact that we're at elevation is all in favor of Hubbard. And I think Hubbard's going to get this one done because of that. Not just because of that, but I think he's also a good enough fighter that little bit of edge that he's going to get from the fact that Hernandez is going to be struggling with the elevation here, in my opinion, is we're going to go Hubbard is going to take this one because I think he's more of a dog. I think he's got more cardio. And I think he's also got a good enough skill set to beat a guy like Hernandez, who's just not been able to get it done. And that's got to weigh on his psyche a little bit. The guy tried to move down to 145. That didn't work out for him. Things just aren't going well for him. So we're taking Austin Hubbard here. Maybe it's a narrative-based pick, whatever. But I think Hubbard gets it done. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Find ourselves in the welterweight division with a couple of real grizzled veterans of the UFC. Tim Means takes on Court McGee. Now, both of them in recent memory haven't done the best. We got 2-3 versus 1-4. It's not what you like to see, but they've been there, they've done that, they fought the who's who of the division, and they're not getting any easy fights anymore. Now, this fight might be not an easy fight, but at least a fight that when you look at it for these two guys, it's, oh, hey, we're in the same kind of spot in our career. So this is good. I like that for them on this pay-per-view. Court McGee, he's going to have the grappling and wrestling advantage. He's a pretty good wrestler. His top control and just his ability just to grind on opponents is what he's going to need to use in this matchup to win. Because I think on the feet, he's going to struggle. He's a decent striker, don't get me wrong. Good forward pressure. He throws that 1-2 while he's coming forward. But his striking defense isn't there, and his durability that he used to be known for has seemed to fade quite a bit. Because in his last 5 fights, a couple of those losses, in those 3 losses, have not shown that his striking, his durability is not keeping up with his, with his output and everything like that. So his want to come forward is there, but the durability isn't allowing it at that time or in those matchups, if that makes sense. If I'm putting that out there right, I mean, I've kind of fumbled through that, but either way, his durability is not there as much as it used to be. The striking defense hasn't ever been there because he's, just coming forward, throwing the 1-2s, and then looking to get on top and use that grinding wrestling style. I think that's a problem for him here. He does have the cardio to go as long as he needs. He's going to need that. We're in Salt Lake City. We already know that. So that is something to take into account. For Tim Means, the opposite is true. The striking is there. It's the grappling that's not. The striking is there. He's very slick in the pocket. He's got good volume and very good combinations. But even better than that is his clinch game. He has an absolutely nasty clinch where he will slice you up with those elbows. No problem. Cut you up. Tear you apart. That's what he likes to do. But his takedown defense, that's what costs him fights. That is how he loses fights. His cardio is good too. So both of these guys, they're going to be able to go 3 rounds, even at elevation. I am confident in that. But what I'm not confident in is both of their defensive abilities in the area that the other one is best suited to win the fight. So that's a problem. Because of that, 2 aging veterans, both guys have the exact option that they need to beat the other guy. This is a fight you just watch. Watch it as a fan. Now, a lot of people say, oh, that means you bet the underdog. Yeah, maybe. Not me. I'm going to kick back, put my feet up on the coffee table, crack open a nice cold root beer, and just enjoy this. It's happening early in the card. We're just getting settled in. I'm just going to watch this fight as a fan. A couple of grizzled vets. I don't really want to root against either of them. I'm going to have a good time just watching it. But I do have to make a pick for you guys. That's what I do here on the channel. We're going to take Tim Means. The Dirty Bird's going to get it done. I don't really feel convicted about that one, but we're going to take him. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next here, folks. Ovince St. Preux takes on Ryan Spann in the light heavyweight division. Now, if you remember, this was booked for a fight night card a while back, but Ovince got sick, had to pull out. Sick, you don't really know. I don't know what the illness was. If you know, please drop it in the comments. But, it could be he's totally fine now, or it could be something that's still weighing on him. It's hard to say. But this matchup here, now they've obviously got a better place, man. They're now, instead of on a fight night card, they're now on a pretty big pay-per-view, right? I mean, UFC 307 is a big deal. Ryan Spann, he's 2-3 in his last 5, much like Ovince St. Preux. But unlike Ovince St. Preux, Ryan Spann's only 33 years old, and at light heavyweight, he's still pretty young. For Ovince St. Preux, 41 years old is a big red flag for any fighter at any division, really. But for 41, I mean, Ovince is coming off a win, so there's that. So something to take into account. But when we look at these two guys, this is an interesting fight. And if you remember, I did break this fight down before because it didn't get canceled, and I believe until the day of, or maybe or the day before or something like that. It was really close before. So I'd already put out the video. So you've already seen it. But things have changed. We're in a different environment. One guy's pulled out because he was sick in the first one. There's some stuff that's changed. But we're going to break it down again. We're going to go over some stuff. So when I look at Ryan Spann, he's a decent striker. Basically, he's just powerful. That is what he is. He's powerful. Throws a lot of single shots. Doesn't have a ton of striking skill. But I don't want to say not like he has bad striking skills. It's just he's not what I think of when I think of a UFC level striker. Let's put it that way. But he does have a ton of power. He's a big, athletic, fast starting guy. Let's cover that. Fast starter and athletic right there. He comes at you, he starts quick, and he tries to take your head off. And if he doesn't take your head off, he tries to take your head off in a different sense by using the grappling. Because he's a decent grappler, but those front chokes, the guillotine in particular, especially that high elbow guillotine, are the moves that he wants to get on people and he wants to take you out with. And I understand that that's a pretty good skill set to have when you're, light heavyweight. You just run through guys early on. Now, the problem with that is he's very kill or be killed. And although he's a good hammer, he's a very poor nail. He does not like it when the tide turns. He often breaks after he gets that initial burst through. And that's kind of Ryan Spann. A lot of times when you're breaking down a Ryan Spann fight, it isn't who's better? Is it Ryan Spann or is the other guy? Is the other guy going to make it through that first initial burst from Ryan Spann? And if so, then you pick the other guy. When we look at Ovince St. Preux, it's hard to say. It's so hard to say because we don't know where he's at in his career at this point because we've seen so many different versions of OSP that we don't really know. But I will say he's the better striker of the two. He's got pretty good striking. He does throw single shots and he has horrible volume typically. His last fight, that was different, but typically horrible volume and typically single strikes. But he's got plenty of power and the dude counter strikes very well. That is something that's going to help him out in this matchup particularly because Ryan Spann is a guy that is there to be countered. In the grappling, I think he's the better grappler. Now, the front chokes from Ryan Spann are pretty good, but at the same time, Ovince, he's probably going to have the better takedown upside, but also he's opportunistic with those submissions. And the Von Preux choke, we're going to call it, it's Von Flu, but the Von Preux, we're going to call it, is his special move. That is his go-to submission, that he takes advantage of people going for guillotines, which is what Ryan Spann wants to do. So I had a bet on OSP last time, but he pulled out because he was sick, and that makes me nervous. But there's a lot of things that still make me think OSP is going to win this fight. For one, I think Ryan Spann's going to try for a guillotine, and I think the Von Preux choke is there. The other thing is, I know that Ryan Spann starts extremely fast. We're now at elevation. He already fades pretty quick when he starts quick like that. Ovince is steady. He is. If you remember the tortoise and the hare, the old tale. The tortoise and the hare. Ovince is the tortoise in that little story to the letter. Slow and steady. He's going to do what he does, and he will win if you start to slow down. If you spoiler alert, the hare is so far ahead of the tortoise in this race that they're having a race, and he's so far ahead that he decides to take a little nap ski, get a little shut eye in, and then he wants to finish the race afterwards because he's so far ahead he thinks he can do it. But he oversleeps and the tortoise wins. That's what can happen when you're fighting a guy like OSP. I think OSP is going to get it done. I don't know if I'll bet him again this time. I don't know. The pulling out with the illness does make me nervous. He's 41 years old. But a lot of stuff lines up on the OSP side. We're taking OSP. I can't trust Ryan Spann. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Hopefully you guys can add some clarity down in the comments. We got another up-and-comer versus grizzled vet matchup. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson takes on Joaquin Buckley. Buckley's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's on a bit of a run, looking pretty good. He's 30 years old. That's kind of what you want from a prospect. But he's fighting the guy who maybe hasn't looked the best in his last 5. He's 2-3, 41 years old. But he's fought some of the best competition in the division, and he's been competitive or beat some of those guys in that division. In fact, he has wins over guys that have beaten Joaquin Buckley. Although those fights were a while ago for Buckley, it's something to take note of. So for Stephen Thompson, is he done? Or does he still have some in the tank? That's the question we're going to have to be asking ourselves because Joaquin Buckley, he's a good striker, right? Joaquin Buckley can come forward. He throws with power. He rips those body shots. He's got excellent kicks. We all know about the kick over PFL champion Impa Kasanganay, PFL light heavyweight champion, I do believe, which is something considering Buckley's at 170 now. So we all know about those type of things. Guy's great, got good movement. He does a lot on the feet well. Decent wrestling. This is what he's been doing lately. His wrestling, he's been adding this wrinkle to his game because before he was mostly a striker, but he's got the wrestling. He can mix in the takedowns. His takedown defense has always been pretty good, which I don't think he's got to use that here. But he's able to stay safe on top. He can get the fight to the ground and do what he needs to do on top. And if he's able to do this, that's going to be the key for him. Because on the other side, he's fighting a guy in Stephen Thompson, who is a very high-level striker. When you look at Stephen Thompson, the guy's got fantastic range control. He darts in and out with that karate stance, lands his combinations. He has excellent kicking arsenal that he can put anywhere in those combinations. So he's got a combination. He's got these kicks. And when he can place those kicks, he's at the beginning, the middle, or the end of a combo. It does not matter, which is impressive. Try to do it sometime. It's very difficult to place kicks. It's easy to start a combo with kicks. It's a little more challenging to end a combo with kicks, but not too much. But it is hard to put a kick in the middle of a combination and keep that fluidity going as you come back with the hands again. That is trickier. He does a good job with that. He can fight out of either stance, and he's always moving. His counters are there. If you come in and you are not ready to be countered, he can just do that dart out, dart back, boom, counter you and hit you, hurt you, and put you on skates, because Stephen Thompson's the best striker that Buckley's going to be facing at this point. I don't think it's crazy to say he might be the best pure striker at 170 pounds. Let's put it that way. He might be. Maybe I'm missing somebody, but Wonderboy might be the best as far as just striking. He's durable. He recovers really well. All of that is great. He's got pretty good takedown defense, but the problem is once you do get him down, that's it. Once you get him down and flattened out, he's stuck. But he does have pretty good initial takedown defense. It's the guys that can chain wrestle. It's the guys that can get him up against the cage, work on him for a while, and eventually just pull him to the mat. Those are the guys that are getting Stephen Thompson down. If you're just shooting a takedown and on your first attempt you don't get it, and then that's it, he's stuffing those takedowns. The other thing I like about Thompson is his cardio. It's excellent. This dude never gets tired. He never is just going to be exhausted out there. He'll look exhausted, but it's more of a defeated look when he's been taken down and laid on for 2.5 rounds. That's different. I see this fight going one of two ways. One, Buckley's able to get the takedowns and able to win the fight that way. Or two, this fight stays on the feet. Stephen Thompson puts an absolute vet lesson in there and makes Buckley really just look silly at moments. And it's not because Buckley's a bad striker. I just think Wonderboy is still that good in the striking department. I'm going to look like an idiot if I get this wrong because that's just what happens when you pick a 41-year-old, but we're taking Stephen Thompson. I think he's going to keep it on the feet, and I think he's going to be able to do the same thing he did to Kevin Holland against Joaquin Buckley, and I think that's what we're going to get. So we're taking Stephen Thompson to get it done. Let me know what you have in the comments. Tell me I'm an idiot. That's okay. We've got a couple of absolute veterans of the division, two ladies who have been around this division pretty much since the onset of the strawweight division. Carla Esparza, former champion, taking on Tecia Pennington. Pennington now. She used to be Tecia Torres. You probably knew that, but her and her wife were fighting on the same card. That Pennington parlay is hard not to play just because I love that alliteration. But I need to break down these fights objectively and take a look at these and not just play it because I love the alliteration of the Pennington parlay. But if you like the Pennington parlay, let me know in the comments. Let's break it down. 4-1 in the last fight for Esparza. However, she is coming off of a bit of a long layoff. Had a kid, got married, all this good stuff. Pennington, 3-2 in her last 5. Close one in her last fight. I thought she might have won, but that's okay. I actually picked against her, and I still thought she might have won. It was close, but either way, she came back after having a baby. She got that one out of the way because that first fight back after having a baby for women is usually a little trickier than it is for men because they got to go through some trauma to the body. Let's put it that way. So for Pennington, she got that one out of the way. She's now back. Here we go. This is the fight. We know Esparza is going to retire after this one, so that's something to keep in mind. Pennington may, but I don't know. Maybe not. When we look at Pennington, solid wrestling. She's got good takedown defense, pretty good takedowns, and pretty good top pressure. That's what we're looking at for her. And in the striking, it's not super high level, but she's probably going to be the better striker of the two. Now I understand. Look at this. Okay, both of them are listed as solid wrestlers and decent strikers. That don't mean they're equal. Let's break that down though. Let's break it down. Decent striking for Pennington. She's got good forward pressure, good volume, and she's durable. I think the striking edge is going to go to Pennington by a pretty decent margin. Although Carla Esparza is a decent striker, her decent striking comes because she feints takedowns and is able to use that to land her strikes. Her wrestling threat is essentially setting up her hands. She is a decent striker in general, but I think Pennington's going to be the better striker. Now, when it comes to the solid wrestling, I think Esparza is a little bit better wrestler. I think Esparza's got the better takedowns, top control, and grinding ability is there. So both of these ladies have similar skill sets. It's just who is better at what. And honestly, for me, this is going to come down to the fact that Esparza's coming off of just having a baby and 2 years away, and I've got to take Pennington because when you get that first one out of the way, we remember a lot of these women, when they come back, the first one back is really rough after having a child. It's not their fault. It's just what happens. But after that first one's out of the way, okay, game on. We're back at it. So we're taking Tecia Pennington. Not the most confident pick, but I also understand when you say you're retiring like Esparza did, that's usually not a good sign either. There's just a lot of red flags on the Esparza side, and there's still some red flags for Pennington, but not nearly as many. So we're taking Tecia Pennington with a low confidence pick. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I will see strikers at middleweight. Ihor Potieria takes on Cesar Almeida. For Almeida, he's 4-1 in his last 5, and we saw the weakness in his game is when someone comes with a high level, or not even necessarily high level, but heavy wrestling game plan. That is what cost him in his last matchup against Roman Kopylov. Now, on the other side, Ihor Potieria, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. This guy's got a lot more MMA experience, being 21-6 as opposed to just 6 fights. The problem is he's the type of guy that can just snatch defeat from the jaws of victory because he'll start out so good and just somehow not win. It can be frustrating if you're a Potieria fan. So shout out to the Couch Warrior because I know he's a big fan of Potieria, but it's the type of guy that when you think you've got this, when you think he's going to win, he just somehow doesn't. So that's a problem for him. But let's break this down, right? So Cesar Almeida, solid striker, good power. He works the body really well, and he's got clean combinations. On the feet, he's probably going to be hard to beat, right? But the takedown defense, it's okay. It's decent. He's got decent enough takedown defense, and initially he'll try to work back to his feet. But once you flatten him out, that's it. He's stuck. He's stuck down. And that's what happened when Roman Kopylov was able to take him down numerous times and win the fight that way. But Kopylov, let's be honest, Kopylov's a better fighter than Ihor Potieria. So what is Ihor Potieria going to do? Well, he's probably going to try and strike with him. And to be honest, he's got a shot. Like, the dude hits pretty hard. He starts extremely fast. He's got good forward pressure, good power, and he can strike and burst really well. But the biggest problem is he doesn't have any striking defense, and he nearly never checks kicks. I don't think it's going to go well for him. I've got to take Cesar Almeida here because I think he's the better striker in what I believe to be a predominantly striking matchup. And even if it's not, I don't think Potieria's takedown offense is going to be good enough to get Almeida down and hold him down consistently enough to win the fight. So I've got to take Cesar Almeida. But by golly, do I have a hard time picking a guy that's had 6 pro MMA fights against a guy that's got 27 of them. And, I understand he has a kickboxing background, but it's MMA. It's so much different. So we're taking Cesar Almeida. He's a big favorite, I'm pretty sure, and that's scary. So either way, let me know what you guys think. Strawweight next. Marina Rodriguez takes on Iasman Lucindo. Lucindo 4-1 in her last 5, 2-3 for Rodriguez. Rodriguez has been on a bit of a downhill slope. She is getting older, 37 years old. She's fighting the up-and-comer at 22 in Lucindo, who should be improving very rapidly from fight to fight. But we'll see how this works out because there's a lot of veterans on this card that I think are probably going to win. Let's see if this one's one of them. So when we break down this fight, Iasman Lucindo, solid jiu-jitsu. She has a good body lock takedown to get the fight to the mat. Her top pressure is very good. She works to advance her position, and she uses ground and pound very well to do a number of things. 1, obviously to cause damage, but 2, to help her advance position, and 3, to set up submission attempts. She does a very good job using her ground and pound for all of these things while simultaneously keeping that top pressure on and working to a better position. When we look at her striking, she's a good striker as well. She's got pretty good power in the hands, good counters, good combinations. And a lot of people are saying, like, okay, well, in hindsight, the Iasman Jauregui fight, she lost that fight, this, that, and the other. I think that the shots that Jauregui ate from Lucindo is what kind of messed up that chin, because we've noticed that Jauregui's been getting knocked out after that, whenever she gets hit flush. I think that fight, that war that she had with Lucindo, which was a very good fight, is kind of what did it. Maybe I'm wrong. There's no way to prove that, but either way, I think that could be something. So I think that power is there. I do think she has that. Now, when we look at Rodriguez, she's going to be the better striker. Skill for skill, she's the better striker. She's got better volume. She's got good combinations, good movement. Her hand speed is still there at 37. Good counters, and she uses her range extremely well. In the clinch, she's deadly there as well. She has absolutely nasty knees in the clinch. In fact, I think that's probably one of her best weapons overall. But the problem is, when you get her down, she gets held down, and she stays there. This is a tricky one to call. This is a really tricky fight to call because I think on the feet, it's going to be competitive, but I think Rodriguez is going to be the better fighter on the feet. But if it gets to the mat, you've got to think Lucindo has a massive advantage. And because the skill gap is bigger in the grappling, I'm going to go with Lucindo. I think she's, I know she's younger, so I think she's going to be improving. I think she's going to be able to get this fight to the mat at some point. Does the altitude scare me a little bit? Yeah, maybe, because we don't really know how she's going to do against a grizzled veteran like Rodriguez in this one, but I do think she gets it to the mat at least for 2 rounds and is able to win a decision. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Matchup at middleweight, Roman Dolidze takes on Kevin Holland. Both of these guys are 3-2 in their last 5 fights, and this is an interesting one because of the weight class. The weight class is interesting. Roman Dolidze's last fight was at 205 pounds, and Holland has been fighting a lot at 170 recently, but they both are middleweights, at least at some point in their career. Holland has been more of the welterweight lately. Dolidze is pretty much a middleweight that just took a fight on short notice up at 205, but he did not look small. So the size, although like the height and reach is technically on the Holland side because he's got freakishly long arms, Dolidze is going to be the thicker man by like a pretty good clip. So when we break this fight down, there's going to be some things that don't quite make a lot of sense when you just look at skills, but you have to take into account other factors. When we look at Kevin Holland, the dude's a solid striker, and there's no doubt he's going to be the better striker in this matchup. The dude's got plenty of power at the end of those long, rangy punches, and he controls that range extremely well, which is what gives him such good striking defense. He doesn't get hit a ton because he's, A, long, so it's hard to cross that distance without getting hit yourself, but B, does a good job of staying at range. He's very fast. He's very accurate. He's got a diverse skill set on the feet. He's got kicks, punches, elbows, all the things you need, whatever from a fighter on the feet, and you can put it all together. So the striking advantage goes to Holland by a lot. He is also solid in the jiu-jitsu department. He's got good sweeps off his back at 170 pounds. He's got good scrambles at 170 pounds. He's quick to attack front chokes. That's unanimous across the board, so there's that. He's active from the bottom at 170 pounds. But his takedown defense suffers, and he gets held down at 185 pounds, which is what we're at. So the problem is a lot of the stuff from his back, from the bottom side grappling for Holland, is kind of null and void at 185 because we've seen it before. These 185 pounders are just too big when they have a decent skill set on top, and he cannot get out from underneath them. It's not because he's not skilled in the grappling. He's very skilled in the grappling, but he just can't get out from underneath these big guys who are also skilled in the grappling. That is the problem for him. The front chokes are still there, so I'll give him that. And basically, if he gets topside grappling, he's going to be okay. I mean, he's pretty good, but he's going against a guy in Dolidze who, although isn't the best striker, he's just kind of decent. I will say he's got a good step in knee. I like that. He's got plenty of power, and he's got a good one, too. But that's about it. When it comes to the grappling, though, Dolidze is very, very legitimate. He's one of the big guys that actually has the skills in the grappling, because a lot of them do not. They just kind of get by on being big. They muscle through a lot of stuff. Dolidze is absolutely fluid and slick on the ground. He's got a large toolbox. His submission arsenal is top tier. His heel hooks are probably some of his best, and that's because they're absolutely nasty and fast. He's got good takedowns at the end of his strikes, at least some of the time. Sometimes you don't see that. It's hard to say, but he's got some excellent sweeps from the bottom. Here's the deal. I think this fight is going to come down to the fact that it's at 185 pounds, and because of that, I have to take Dolidze. So I'm taking Roman Dolidze. I don't want to. I like Kevin Holland. I'm a big Kevin Holland fan, but I hate the 185-pound matchup against a guy that wants to get on top and wants to just do what he needs to do to get the win. So Roman Dolidze has to be the pick because we've seen this movie before. Kevin Holland at 185 pounds, getting stuck on his back. It's just what he seems to do. So I'm taking Dolidze, but let me know what you guys think. If this fight does end up on the feet for the majority of the time, Holland's probably winning, but I just don't see it staying there. Let me know, and I'll see you guys in the next bantamweight division, where these two ladies, Kayla Harrison and Ketlen Vieira, square off with some decent title implications on the line, mostly on the Harrison side. It seems that the UFC wants her to get a title shot, probably because she's exciting. Girl's only got one loss in her career and a whopping 17 wins, so that's exciting as well. But the problem is, if Kayla Harrison wins, my girl Norma Dumont's going to get gypped because I think she deserves the next title shot. But that's just me. But let's break this fight down. This is the one we're talking about, not Norma Dumont. Now, for Harrison, 4-1 in the last 5, 3-2 for Vieira. For Vieira, she's a good grappler. She's a big, strong grappler who has pretty decent takedowns, good top control. Her takedown defense is there, but she does get held against the cage often, and that's how she can lose minutes in fights. She's got good striking as well. She strikes in flurries, good power, but her striking defense isn't the best, and that can be a problem for her. On the other side, Kayla Harrison, we'll start with her striking. It's not great, but it's okay. Basically, her grappling threat just opens up the hands. She's got power, and she can strike her way into the clinch. She does a good enough job striking to get to that clinch, and once she gets to that clinch, I mean, the girl won a gold medal in judo. She knows what she's doing. Maybe 2, 3, I don't know. At least she won at least 1 gold medal. I think it's 2. Super high-level grappling. Her judo is where it's at. She's got fantastic throws. Her top pressure is excellent. She works to advance her position immediately. The ground and pound is there, and the arm bar is her special move. When it comes to her grappling, she's looking for that arm bar. Most judo players do, because the way that they throw and they corral the arm on the way down, they can go right into the arm bar. It's just how that works. So with that said, yeah, Kayla Harrison's probably winning this fight. I think she wins this fight at a really high clip. I think she looks impressive doing it, and they'll probably give her a title shot. And poor Norma Dumont is not going to get her title shot that she so much deserves. But let me know what you guys think. And we've got another matchup between a grizzled veteran and an up-and-coming prospect. Mario Bautista, prospect, takes on Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo, 4-1 in his last 5, even at the age of 38. He came back in his last fight after retirement, came back and won, which is, that's something. Most people don't do that. So Jose looked great. He's continued to look great through his whole career outside of a couple of little blemishes. On the other side, Bautista has looked fantastic as well. The guy's only 31 years old, coming into his prime. At bantamweight, that's probably your prime. 5-0 in the last 5. The guy's only got 2 losses on the career, and those were quite some time back. When we look at this fight, yeah, I got a lot more written down for Aldo. We have a way bigger sample size. I mean, the guy's had 40 fights. And a ton of those have been at the either UFC or WEC level, which is essentially the UFC's. The WEC became the UFC, like part of the UFC when they absorbed it and basically just like brought their champions in with it because whatever. Either way, if you don't know the history, I'm sure there's a documentary somewhere. I'd love to tell you about it, but we're getting into this fight. For Mario Bautista, dude's a good striker. He's got good movement, good volume, good power, but he leaves his chin exposed at times, and I think that's something that could be a problem for him here. But he hasn't really had to pay for it because he's tough enough and puts out enough that he can usually overcome that. And even though he gets hit, just keep pouring it on and beating his opponents that way. This could be a red flag for him in this one, though. He does have solid grappling, and I think if he's able to get this going, that'll be excellent, but he's got a tough test ahead of him. He's got very good takedowns, and he can shoot a ton of them. The volume is going to be there. He scrambles well. He's attacking submissions. Usually he chokes, but the rear naked choke specifically is his go-to move. But when we look at the other side, it's going to come down to whether or not we get the Jose Aldo of old or if we get a Jose Aldo that looks old. We've got Jose Aldo, who's an excellent striker. His footwork is amazing. He works his jab. He'll double and triple that jab up, and that's just something that he just keeps on putting out there for you. He's got quick hands, super good combinations. He can counter-strike with the best of them. His head movement is just top tier. He's extremely deadly in the pocket, but the problem that he has had in the past is he'll stick around in the pocket just a little bit too long and get hit. Now, he's always been durable. We've never really had to worry about the durability of Jose Aldo, but he is getting older. He's 38, so at some point, he's going to look old. Is it this fight? I don't know. It's hard. Nobody's going to know. There's no way to know. He checks kicks extremely well, and his kicks are absolutely fantastic offensively. When it comes to the clinch, he's great here as well. He controls and he moves his opponents really well in the clinch, and then starts using that dirty boxing when he's ready to do that once he gets you where he wants you. Problem is, on the clinch break, that's another time where he sticks around just a little bit too long and does get hit, so that could be a problem for him. Ultimately, though, his takedown defense is absolutely top tier, and I think he's going to be able to stuff takedowns. So it comes down to, do we think this is going to be a Jose Aldo that looks old, or does he have another one in him? It's a coin flip, guys. Crack open another root beer, watch this fight, because we just don't know what Jose Aldo we're going to get. I'm going to take him to win. I think he's probably the better fighter. I think he's going to maybe he can pull out of, maybe he can turn back time once again. You know what I mean? So we're going to take Jose Aldo, but my goodness, I'm picking way too many veterans, and that's going to cost me. It's cost me before on pay-per-views. I don't know what I'm doing. Don't listen to me in some of these veteran matchups, okay, guys? Like maybe my old soul is getting to me. So I don't know, but Aldo might have a chance here. I think he's got a chance here. I think he's going to stuff takedowns, and I think he's going to look good on the feet. But let me know what you guys think. Co-main event of the evening, the Women's Bantamweight Championship is on the line, and I can already tell that I'm going to have to skip this one on most people's breakdown videos because, my goodness, is it going to be annoying to hear about how much everybody hates this fight. I don't actually hate this fight. I think it's going to be a pretty good fight. I think it's going to over-deliver. Here we are. We're going to break down the Women's Bantamweight Championship fight. We have Julianna Pena, the challenger, coming in 3-2 in her last 5 fights. She's taking on Raquel Pennington, who is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She used to be this fighter who kind of, win one, lose one, kind of just stay in the middle tier of everything at the bantamweight division. And then all of a sudden, she starts putting together a tidy little win streak and starts making it so that she is the one that's dictating where the fight's taking place. And that's really what changed for Raquel Pennington. And that's how she became the champion. That's where she's at now. She picks where the fight takes place, and she makes it on her terms. That's what she's been doing. Let's start with Pena, though. Sorry, not Pennington. We'll start with Pena. And for Pena, both of these fighters are pretty much just good everywhere. But Pena's best weapon is her pacing. She's going to put a pace on somebody. She's going to start out fast. She's going to come forward, good volume, just basic combinations like meat and potatoes stuff that works really well, and she's durable. So she's going to come through. Yes, she's been finished, but it's often by submission. It's not usually she's getting like knocked out cold or anything like that. So, but she's going to come forward. She's going to throw basic combinations with good volume, and she's just going to stick to what works for her with that pressure on the feet. And when it comes to the grappling, she's pretty good there as well. Decent takedowns. They're not like top tier, but they're good enough, right? Ground and pound is where it's at for her, though. She puts out a lot of volume in the ground and pound, and she's very quick to attack the rear naked choke, and she kind of just forces people to give up their back, whether it's because of the ground and pound or, she'll start attacking like a submission to get somebody to turn, and then she gets that back, and that's where she takes that rear naked choke, which, in fact, I think she has more wins by submission than she does any other method. And that's interesting to me because I wouldn't have assumed that just without digging into it a little bit more. But the rear naked choke is actually her best move as far as her record suggests. So there is that. But for Julianna Pena, I do like the pace. I do like the pressure. And I think that's going to be the biggest hurdle for Pennington to overcome is that pace and pressure. When we look at Pennington, what has she been doing lately? Well, it's good striking, coming forward, working the jab on the way in. And then once she gets in, she's going to start working the body, that dirty boxing kind of combination in the pocket as well as against the cage. She'll step in with a knee, and she's also tough as heck too. So that's going to help. Both of these ladies are durable, tough as nails type of gals. Now, what Pennington's going to want to do is probably get this up against the cage. She's got good wrestling there. The cage wrestling is where it's at. She's got good cage push. Her dirty boxing is the best in the division as far as I can tell, and she strikes very well on the clinch break off that cage push. So when you're there, whatever, the opponent starts to fight off of it, and then she just clocks you as you're starting to separate. Honestly, this fight's going to come down to who can control where the fight's taking place, as it does in a lot of fights. But mostly in Raquel Pennington's fights lately, she's been dictating that, and I believe she's going to be able to do that again. Now, it's a close fight. I don't know that I can bring myself to bet on this one. It's tough because I think this fight is going to be largely dependent on if Raquel can get this fight up against the cage and work that dirty boxing. And if she does, I think she gets it done, and that's what I'm going to side with. Pain is a tricky test for anybody just by the way that she fights. So I'm probably gonna just watch this one as a fan, but I'm gonna take Pennington. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I guess maybe I do that Pennington parlay because of the alliteration, but if so, it's gonna be like a couple dollars and just for the fun of it, right? Okay, but I'll see you guys in the main event. Hey, if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and like this video. I don't think I've reminded anybody to do that, so please do that. I'll see you in the main event. We have it, folks. Main event of the evening. We have Alex Pereira taking on Khalil Roundtree for the light heavyweight championship. And a lot of people were upset when number 8 ranked Khalil Roundtree got this title shot, but it is not the level of competition. It's not the win streak he's on, because he's obviously got a 5-fight win streak going in because he's 5-0 in his last 5. But what he doesn't have is the name recognition that he's beating. He's not beating the top guys. But the problem with that is, like, there's nobody really in the division that Pereira hasn't beaten already that has like a lot of big names that they've beaten, right? Because everybody wants to point at Ankalaev. Well, he went to a draw with Blachowicz, so there's that. Beat Johnny Walker, I guess, but like you're just not seeing, you're not seeing the guys that the big names that they're beating because it's just not an option for you. It's not there, right? So Roundtree getting the shot, I don't mind it. I know he's like ranked number 8, so that's unfortunate, but it is an exciting matchup because both guys are strikers. It looks like it's going to be a fun striking matchup for as long as it lasts. And when we look at Khalil Roundtree, the guy, he's someone that's improved drastically throughout his time in the UFC, especially with the striking, obviously. Dude's got that very Thai style of striking. Moved to Thailand for a while to learn that, get really good at that. And when he came out looking like that against my boy, Eric Anders, that was a rough one to watch. I'm a big Eric Anders fan. If you don't know, I did an interview with Eric Anders on this channel a while back. It's a great time. We got to talk about how he is one of my favorite fighters. But that was not one of his finest moments. He got beat up pretty bad by one Khalil Roundtree. But Roundtree's striking is very much Thai style. So he's a solid striker, puts together combinations. His punches and kicks, he can put those together as well. His kicks are some of his best weapons. And one of the things that make me think about Khalil Roundtree's kicks is that time he just like stomped Bukauskas' leg in half. Now, I understand Modestas Bukauskas is not the level of Alex Pereira. I don't think anybody's going to complain for me saying that. But at the same time, that was nasty. And that level of violence that a man can bring to the cage is something that can help him in a fight. So I do like that for Roundtree. His leg kicks in general, not just the stomp your knee in half type. They're pretty good, right? They're really good leg kicks. Now, he puts those punches and kicks together in combination, very Thai style of combination where he kind of builds his combinations as he goes. Good forward pressure, comes forward, hands up, just, doing the little Thai march that they do. Dude's got some nasty killer instinct whenever he actually, wants to harm another human being. This man is aggressive as heck, and he definitely does what he can to get somebody out of there. The problem that he's had over his career is that he's inconsistent. I'm about to erase this thing. If he wins this fight, yeah, he's no longer inconsistent whatsoever. And in fact, I'm going to get rid of this now because here's the deal. There was a time in Khalil's career where he was inconsistent, but dude's on a 5-0 run, and he's been nothing but consistent. The dude has done what he's needed to do to get there. I understand the Dustin Jacoby fight where a lot of people thought he lost. I get it. Totally get it. Point is, consistent enough to get a 5-fight win streak, regardless of what you think in that one fight. So either way, I got to get rid of that stat, but I wanted to put it up on the board because it's something that I believed about him for quite some time, but it looks like he's fixing that. Now, when we get to Alex Pereira, something I want to point out, this is a chance for me to hype up my Patreon page. Not like, hey, you don't have to go do it, but if you're interested in notes, I have more notes for Alex Pereira that are going to be up on the Patreon when I get all those notes up. They should be up by Thursday at the latest. Now, when I put all my notes up there, I had to dumb down my notes here for this because the last time I did a big breakdown on Alex Pereira, it was one of those one-off videos where I deep dive between a couple of guys. Actually, I don't think it was the last time, but you know what I mean. I've done plenty of those on Alex Pereira. So with that, I end up doing a deep dive and getting a bunch of notes. So if you want to see more of my notes, more in-depth analysis, I add and change those as we go through cards, as fighters change and develop. I got a lot of notes for Alex, or Alex, I think is how I'm supposed to say it for the, I don't know, whatever. Either way, got a lot of notes there, but we're going to stick with these for today. I felt like these were the most relevant for this matchup, and that's what we're going with. Pereira is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, and that one loss is down at middleweight, so take that for what you will. I do think that weight cut is a bit much for him. I don't like it for him. I hope he doesn't go back there. Dude's a strong striker, very good forward pressure, and what he does is he likes to corner his opponents by just kind of walking them down, and then that's when he starts to unload. He'll keep his volumes kind of at first, but then as he starts to corner guys, that's when he starts picking it up. He traps the hands really well as opponents throw their punches. He'll kind of trap the hands and then come through with his own shots. He does a good job of checking both leg and body kicks, which he's going to need to do here because Khalil kicks very hard. So he's going to need to be able to do that. And he's also going to mix in his own leg kicks, which are some of the most deadly in the game. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with me when I say that. So the leg kicks for Pereira, the fact that he checks them, that's important. Dude's got deadly power. I just erased that a little bit. Didn't mean to do that, but that's okay. Deadly power. When this guy hits you, you're done. Yuri Prochazka is a guy that was known for his durability. You saw the beating that man took against Rakic. Pereira's been putting this guy out, no problem, every time they fight, twice. So, yeah, I think Pereira's power is real. Jabs to the body, and he uses that to draw an account. I love this jab to the body. I was just talking to one of the guys I teach a little bit of striking to, is that he's a guy that likes to use his lead hand a lot, right? So, same thing as Alex Pereira. The jab to the body. Yeah, you want to land the jab to the body. It's what you want to do. But what you really want to do is get them to bite with their hand to try to parry it. And that's when the lead hook opens up. So after you hit that jab to the body enough, they're going to start wanting to parry that away. And if you can get them to parry it away with the hand that's protecting the right side of their face, you throw this or you feint it, and then they drop that hand to try to parry, and then you hit them with that lead hook. That is what Pereira does, and he does it very well. And that is why that's awesome, and that's why he knocks people out with that. It's a very good move for him. If he can get Khalil to parry with that rear side that covers the right side of his face, that lead hook from Pereira is going to be right there, and it's going to be devastating. So that's something to think about. Mixes his single strikes and his combinations together. I like that for him. He does a lot of singles, and then he'll start throwing combos. It works really well. Ultimately, another thing you're going to have to look at here in this matchup is the height and reach disadvantage that Roundtree is going to have to overcome. I don't know exactly how tall and what the reach is for these guys because, let's be honest, those numbers are never actually accurate. They're pretty close a lot of the time. But I know that Alex is listed at like 6'4". Khalil's listed at like 6 foot or 6'1", depending on where you look. Decent bit there. Pereira's listed at either 79 or 80 inch reach, depending on where you look. Roundtree's listed at like 76, most places, some places 75. There's going to be a difference in the height and reach, and Pereira's going to have the advantage there. So Khalil's going to have to cross that danger zone in order to land his strikes. But there's a window of opportunity where Pereira can land his and Khalil cannot land his. So that's something to take into account as well. Ultimately, for me, I think this fight's just going to be both guys are very high-level strikers, and either guy could put the other guy out, but I've got to side with the guy that I believe is the better overall striker and the guy that I believe has the better level of competition that he's proven this against. So we're going to stick with the and still for Alex Poatan Pereira to get this one done to remain the champion. And real quick, guys, if you haven't done it already, like this video, but also it's probably popped up on screen. If it hasn't, it's going to in a second. I did an interview with one Joey Hart, Joey the Hitman Hart, who fought on the Contender Series not that long ago. I mentioned it in the intro. Some of you guys skipped the intro. So real quick, check out the interview. It should be up on screen. It's a very good interview. Joey's fantastic. I enjoyed talking with him. Hopefully you guys enjoy this as well. He enjoyed my breakdown of his fight, although I picked against him. So that's interesting. And because of that, we set up this interview. So check that out now, and I will see you guys there.